Hey y'all, this is Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey Kat. And this is the Fake Ass Book Club. Wait, can we both say it or no?
Guys, welcome back, everybody. It's your girl, Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey, Kat.
Hey, Moni. It's late.
Hey, oh my gosh, it is. It was just like, it's so natural right now.
That's what
you
your
guys.
face says.
It is. And listen, we were just talking and chatting before we started recording, you guys. So you'll have to forgive us, but we're super excited to be back as always. So thank you for tuning back in this week.
Yeah.
So Kat, like, how was your weekend? What was it giving?
You're so kind to ask. It was giving art. It was giving expression. It was giving creativity. It was giving kinetic energy. So yeah, what was your weekend giving?
It was giving long car rides. It was giving family time. Lots of really great food. And good memories.
Aww.
So yeah, it was a good weekend, man. I was really sad that I couldn't make it down. I know you were on the art scene because Butter was this weekend. Shout out to everybody down there. I know they put on a wonderful, wonderful artistic display. I couldn't see it, so I'm glad you could be there for Fab to represent. I think you shared a little bit of it, but we'll have some more stuff that we're going to share online. Posting stuff from it because it looked amazing, like it always is.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, shout out to Indianapolis for featuring, Black artists and just doing the damn thing on the Labor Day weekend. So, yeah, man. So it's Sunday night and it's late. So here we are.
We had
a busy weekend.
We did,
but we're back here for you guys. We did it
doesn't
with
stop.
Cult Leader Confidence.
Did we ever?
Nope. And so with that, you guys, I wanted to let you know what we're going to be talking about this week, and that is the Netflix series How to Become a Cult Leader.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it's kind of on brand because it comes up a lot on our podcast. So figured why not get into it.
Kat is obsessed with cults, and I think it's because I feel like I narrowly escaped joining like several cults.
My God. I think that's a fantastic. Let's just, you know what? This is
why I appreciate your shadiness. I think your shadiness has kept me out of cults. It's like, wow, Moni made fun of that pretty hard.
For real? It's like for real though? Oh my gosh, you guys. So this Netflix series is perfect. I can't wait for her to get into that a little bit more for you guys because I know we've gotten into that a little bit, but to just reiterate that for our audience, I think that'll be a nice little treat. So How to Become a Cult Leader is a series that breaks down what it takes to run a cult based on 6 of the most notorious cults of all time. Each episode focuses on a different pseudo-religious leader, their dark history, and goes over how the basics of their organization was formed that led to their following.
Peter Dinklage is in it? That's cool.
Oh, he narrated it.
Oh, that's what's up.
That was
He's
him.
Tyrion Lannister.
Yeah, he is. He's adorable. Maybe that's mean. I don't know if that's like. Take that out. I didn't call that man adorable.
He is adorable. He's got that little beard.
I think he is. He's so cute.
I think so.
But I'm sure he hates that though. He wants.
I don't think so. If I could be, because here's the thing. One of the criticisms I had with casting him was he was too attractive to play Tyrion Lannister. Like in the books, he was like hideous. Like,
he was?
Yeah, like he was very asymmetrical and like he looked more like like a little tiny Quasimodo is how he's described in the books.
Like a homunculus of a Quasimodo.
Yes.
Do you like how you?
Yeah, I do like that. And he like got scarred in battle, so he's also like missing an eye. Like he was just gross.
Oh.
But like Peter Dinklage, like even though he's a little person, like it's like okay, there's a lot of stuff to work with here. Like he's got a strong, like he's a relatively,
I like him.
He's like an attractive actor.
Okay, that was like a lot of backpedaling to make sure that he didn't feel offended.
Because we know you're listening, Peter. So just know that.
Of course, Peter, we know this is your favorite podcast. So let's just be for real right now, okay? And I would never want to disrespect you in any way.
So we're cool, right? We're cool. Okay, he's giving me the thumbs up. We're cool.
Okay. Yeah, we're back now. So, but yeah, basically, I thought it was an interesting pick for you to to recommend, because I know that you're fascinated with cult stories. Like you reference lots of documentaries and stuff, which some of these folks I had heard of, some of them I hadn't. But I really did like the breakdown. The episodes were like between 30 and 40 minutes, 30 and 45 minutes, which I thought was enough, because you had mentioned before we started recording that it was sort of like a compilation. So you kind of go into this getting like little like nuggets of each person, like what their ammo was to kind of build their following, and how, just like the overview of how it sort of played out. So if you want to dig in, they definitely have a lot of, oh my God, like you can go anywhere and find, a deep dive into these things. I'm sure they've got podcasts dedicated to it. Maybe I'll look them up and try to see if I can find some of them if you're interested. But for what we were doing, I think it was a really great intro. Because, for me, I'm not somebody who, I don't geek out for that much. But, I'm into it. I like to check different things out. And it was wildly entertaining. It was very interesting. And I like the way that they broke it down into the, each episode sort of had a theme of like a certain characteristic.
Yeah, because they called it a playbook. Like they laid it out as like a playbook. It was a very clever narrative device to lay it out. It's like, so you want to be a cult leader? But it's tongue in cheek, because obviously you don't want to do this. These people are insane.
I know, but then it's like I was thinking to myself, because people are insane, do you really want to present it like that? Because again, people are dumb, and so then it's like you're presenting it like it's a how-to, and then like they're taking notes. It's kind of I was thinking it's kind of the same notes I had from when we read The Art of Seduction, and how like
it's kind of teaching you how to be a psychopath.
Like, here's how you be a and it's like, of course I know, and that this is obviously like they're not making fun, but like you said, a tongue-in-cheek sort of way to talk about it and kind of poke fun at it, but talk about something serious. I was like, people are so dumb now. Like, do you really give them?
Do you
really say it like this? But yeah, but also you can't really stop that. They're always going to be there regardless. So, but it was a clever narrative. Guys. Like you said, I really liked it. I was like, oh my gosh.
And it was
I
wanted to watch it because of that clip we had with the ladies at Create Collect Collab, and like at CCC, Lativa and Starla, and just going into stuff with cult leader confidence. So I was like, and Starla, she had mentioned on the episode this docuseries. So I was like, you know what? I think we should just parlay off that energy and see what it's talking about. But it does give you insights, because I think people think like, oh, that's for crazy people. That can never happen to me. But, I think it's very interesting to see that this is something that could happen to anyone. But that being said, do you want to do the dedication?
Yeah, let's dedicate this episode, you guys. Hands over your hearts. I want to dedicate this episode to all of our patrons. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for your continued support. Hopefully you're enjoying the bonus content. As things progress, you guys, it's only up from here. It's Cult Leader Confidence all day. And then I also wanted to dedicate this to the holiday weekend, for having an extra day off. Labor Day, you're supposed to you're supposed to take a break. If you didn't get to take a break, hopefully you at least got to eat some good food, see some people you liked, and spend some time away from work, maybe. I don't know. So just shout out to everybody working hard, man. What about you, friend?
Yes, and that I wanted to dedicate, this is a two-parter. I'm dedicating this to the largest democracy in the world, India. They recently were able to land on the moon, which is like, pretty impressive. So, good for them. And then secondly, my other dedication is going to Wandrea Shea Moss and Ruby Freeman, who are the two Black women who are kind of at the center of everything that's going on with Trump and Rudy Giuliani and that whole RICO case, because they conspired to ruin these women's lives by accusing them of something they did not do, when in fact they are the criminals. So shout out to these Black women who were just, trying to, vote and help other people vote. That was just, I know, like me and my grandmother, that's something we always did together. So this was like a mother-daughter team. And like, for people who don't know, Black women couldn't always vote in this country. So now that we can, it's kind of a big deal and we celebrate it. So, the fact that they are going after these women kind of has like a very ugly sort of like, I don't know, everything about them is ugly, so you get it. But I think it's dedication over. But I think it's great because we had talked earlier about how this kind of cult mentality kind of has been applied to Trump, and how like it's very easy to see the parallels when you're watching a docuseries about it.
Absolutely. And it's kind of funny too, because one of my favorite things, I mean, speaking of just like the way the docu series was done, because it was episodic or whatever, but I love when I'm watching shows like The Daily Show or other like sort of political satire shows where they interview people, like say they are Trump supporters, and they're like going in and like asking them questions. And these questions are clearly like to me and you, right? Like to people, I mean, regardless of my political affiliation, like there is just a thing that's like common sense. Or just, okay, we're following this straight line of logic or whatever. And they're asking them a question that is, I mean, it should be simple, but like the way that they're answering it, they're answering it in such a cult-like way. And I'm saying that because like, you get these talking points, you get this script, and you stick to your script no matter what anybody asks you. You never actually really think about it. Like critical thinking was one of the main things that they talked about in the documentary, that you have to sort of like
shut down,
disarm people from that. You have to shut that down because there's no way to really control people when their critical thinking that switch is flipped up.
Mm-hmm.
And so and it's like they're making fun of these people, which it's hilarious to me because of course it's like, I mean, it's so obvious that they're talking out their ass. They don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Kind of like that lady when they were like, well, what's woke though? Like explain that. And she was like, it's Amanda. Like you don't even know. Like it's just a talking point. It's a political buzzword now, and it's part of like what your cult uses to just sort of like dog whistle to each other these points.
Yeah, so you can bypass critical thinking. Like you can just rely on that and then just sort of, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I think it brings up the importance of humor and ridicule, because humor only works unless there's an agreed truth. Ridicule, and because people will be like, no, you can't make fun of them. I mean, I think there's a time and a place.
I think you kind of have to in a way sometimes. Like I actually really stand on that though, because you can definitely I think that's why humor and comedy ends up being so important, especially right now, like when things are so polarized politically, or and people are really looking for something. And it's like, you have to be able to look at yourself and make fun of yourself. I think when you start taking yourself so seriously, that is what actually builds this cult leader mentality, where like you want the confidence, but you don't want it to divulge into like insanity.
Well, Ron has all the answers.
No, Ron don't got all the answers though. Like, you know what I mean? He don't. And nobody does. And it's okay. Like, we have to be okay with there, like, some question marks floating out there.
Yeah.
It's all right.
We're not omnipotent oracles. We're very
regulars, and
we're
like, and I'm cool with that. I don't need to be special, but I do think that that's a huge part of the human condition, is that we want to feel overly special. And I think that that's how you convince, like these cult leaders. There was like a part that was, well, not a part, but that was like one of the characteristics. Like you have to convince people that there's something like otherworldly about you, or something like, oh, you're all knowing or omnipotent or omniscient or any of the other ubs that mean, and can see and do everything. If I missed any, but it's just like, that's not a real thing. But I think that because people long for, they want it to be a person so bad. They want it to be a man usually.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be, but like you just want somebody who shows up with that, like,
wait,
that cult leader confidence? Like, I got all the answers.
Oh, because can I let the listeners know I showed up fake today? I didn't finish it. I just watched, and actually I even watched them out of order. I watched the third episode first, and then had to go back and watch the first and second ones, and then I fell asleep, and it was just a whole thing. But did the Gwen Shamblin quote, did it make it on here? She didn't make it.
No, I mean, honestly, they highlighted
Men.
5, 6, and there's so many
Yeah.
that, they probably just had to, because as far as I know, like, and I did fall asleep toward part of it, but I didn't hear anything with Scientology. There weren't any of the main leaders there, which I thought was interesting, because I know
but they probably don't want to get sued.
That part,
because once again, Scientology is the cult of cults. Because here's the other thing. I like these documentaries too, because you have former members of the cult talking about it. And to me, I'm always more fascinated by people who leave than the people who stay. Because I think it's very comfortable to just kind of stay in your whatever belief system you've picked. But like to be able to be like, ooh, I don't think Ron has all the answers. I would like to point out too that, like, a lot of the time, all of our beliefs could be a little cultish at times, because we're indoctrinated to believe most of what we believe just from the time that we're children. And so, like, when you're met with somebody who maybe has opposing views, like, there's this instant defensiveness that you have where it's like, you're not really open to hearing how other people think and process those things. And I think it can become very dogmatic and very like, okay, we're playing the greatest hits right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can just hit you with I can hit you with those little cliche sayings that kind of shut down like your critical thinking part that maybe you're introducing to me, because I'm uncomfortable and I don't even want to go there. We can't even have that. I just have to put that on a shelf and walk away.
And just keep, like, we can't even really address it. And so, I get that feeling, but at the same time, I think, this is why we talk about critical thinking and like reading things outside of just like the things maybe that you're introduced to, because it opens things up and it gives you things to compare.
Yeah, like people's narratives. Like people's narratives are, it'll be like, oh wow, like I could have never gotten there on my own.
Ever.
And it can be very uncomfortable. One of our favorite quotes, like, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. So a lot of times, being put up with them, like, hey, your foundation doesn't match your face and is creating a clown line between your jawline and your neck. And it'll be like, wow, that hurt my feelings, but you're ultimately helping me out.
Right. Aren't you glad you know now?
Yeah.
Because now you don't have to look like a clown anymore. You can fix it. You can move on. Like, that's an opportunity to get better. Like, I do. And
thanks
you
for the
can't laugh at
correction.
yourself. Like,
exactly.
That's
and it's like,
saying.
And I am
like,
imperfect. Like, I probably shouldn't.
I was trying though. And it's just easier to, you know what I mean? It's like, clearly I tried. I have foundation on. Goddamn. Like,
and
it
it's
didn't
expensive. Like, of all the makeups, foundation is. Speaking of foundation, that's the first episode. Build your foundation as far as on how to be a cult leader. So the first one, I feel like they were leaning in on Charles Manson. And I figured everybody's pretty familiar. If you're not familiar with him, he's the one, because he killed an actress. He killed Sharon Tate, but she was married to, wasn't she married to the dude who...
He was an actor too. I want to say he was famous and I forget.
But I feel like he sexually assaulted a child at some point.
What?
I want to say, because is he the dude who's living in exile right now?
Roman Polanski.
Yeah, he fucked a 14-year-old in the ass at Jack Nicholson's house. And I remember because Angelica Houston, because she had some problems with it, she was like, nah, this is fucked up, because she was dating Jack Nicholson at the time.
She had some problems with it?
Well, just imagine, what can you really do? I mean, you could call the police, but it's like, what really happens in those situations? Like, yeah.
Please hold.
Sorry. Yeah.
You can't just, I mean, and I know this happened in the 70s, but this is new to me right now, and I don't appreciate.
I'll fact check it. A lot of times I fact check while I'm editing. So if it's not true, I'll take it out. But the way I remember the story, Roman Polanski was like, he was married to her at the time and she was pregnant, and his followers came in and like killed her on some helter-skelter shit. And then I don't know if he fucked the 14-year-old before or after that. Hey, This is Kat breaking in with a correction. While I was editing, I wanted to fact check and make sure I was giving the correct information because I wouldn't want to wrongfully accuse anybody of something so heinous. And it turns out I was wrong. Roman Polanski did not sexually assault a 14-year-old girl. She was actually 13 years old at the time. Okay, back to the show.
Okay. So.
And they still gave him an Academy Award.
After that?
Yeah. Because he doesn't even live here anymore. He lives overseas just so he doesn't have to deal with that heat.
He's still alive?
I believe so, yeah. Because I feel like they mailed it to him.
Oh my gosh.
That's not what this
I was not prepared for that.
I'm sorry.
It's not, but like that
Life's
took me out.
Weird,
my God.
Man. Life's freaking weird. So yeah, but
I do remember seeing the part where like he was, people were intrigued by him. Like he was starting to meet people because he went out to California and he was like, he even got was hanging out with the Beach Boys and stuff like that. And he had a gaggle of hoes around him always. And the men were like, wow, who's this guy? And again, like you're building your foundation by just like that being attractive to other people or being a mystery and people being curious about you. He was
it's like,
pretty
ooh,
good at
what's
that.
he got? But it sounds like he was because what did he fail at? What was he trying to do and then messed up? I don't know. I was in and out.
He failed at a lot, man.
Yeah,
at life, I would just say in general, he missed the assignment completely.
He had
like, that's not even why we're here.
Super crazy eyes too.
He was nuts. His music, oh my gosh, he was trying to make music. I didn't even ever realize that. And he ended up having a chance to like get in front of a producer through the Beach Boys contact. And like they were trying to give him notes on his music, and he was like, "Absolutely not! Like I'm basically a musical genius. I reject
leader confidence.
Confidence.
No, he was Kanye
before Kanye,
but without the talent.
Listen, exactly. That's exactly it. And just it's not good. It's not good. Sir.
Okay, so moving on, we're gonna do number 2, which I feel like I actually did a paper on him in school on Jim Jones. Episode 2 was "Grow Your Flock." And it's crazy because with the Jim Jones things, I feel like that one's really sad because I feel like he started off really wanting to do good and then just got off into drugs.
Yeah, they said that's really where it hit it went all the way into insanity because he was trying to keep up with his schedule and all that stuff. But also, too, I think just from the start, though, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I don't know if a lot of people are equipped to deal with that level of like attention and like if you're not already pretty grounded, like I think that can be so intoxicating to the point where you do just kind of fucking lose your mind though. Like because you start to believe the hype a little bit and you recognize like, how
maybe
easily
I
manipulating people are. I mean, they keep saying it. I mean, they saying it.
Maybe I am.
And I mean, I like me.
I always felt like I was better than everybody. It's like
right. I mean, and it's crazy too because I know I was talking to my mother-in-law, like I was doing her nails and I had it on, and she was like, "I remember this. Like, I mean, this was like insane." And I thought what was interesting about him was that, in my mind, if I'm stereotyping cult leaders, they're white usually, or people who consider themselves white. And so are
those are the ones who get pressed because there's been some browns.
There's definitely some brown ones, but this is totally stereotypical, in my mind. What was fascinating was that, like, he was, like, in black churches, and, I mean, he was able to, like, leverage.
Well, let's talk about it. Like, it was one of the first integrated churches in Indiana, because historically, church has been very segregated. So this is like in the 70s where schools, workplaces, everything we're tearing down the the oppression of white supremacy, which is segregation. So it's like I said, it started off as a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he had all
interesting to see.
I didn't know he had all the sex crimes. Like that was what was new to me, because once again, if you know Jim Jones, there's Jonestown's where everybody drank the Kool-Aid. That's where that like idiom comes from. I think the people at Kool-Aid would want people to know it was Flavor Aid. It actually wasn't Kool-Aid. And it was laced with strychnine.
Like, don't be messing with my brain.
And I think it's important. I like the fact that the documentary points out that it wasn't all suicide. A lot of those people were murdered because a lot of them were children. And so, and then they were.
It was like 900 people.
And then they organized the bodies to make it look like everybody like laid down, but the coroners found like injection marks behind people's knees and like all kind of stuff. Like it was really, really, really sad. And just about
Yeah, that definitely
how,
was.
you wanted to have something good, and then all of a sudden it just
gets turned. Yeah, man. Like you always have to remember why you get into stuff. You know what I mean? Or at least I think it just comes down, like you say, you have to have like a shady friend who's like, man, what the fuck are you doing? Though?
it has that, and that's
Like,
a check
this is
on
crazy.
power. Like you have to check power,
Yeah.
basically, because unrestrained
Mhm.
power just always becomes corrupt. So you have to have,
does.
at every point, someone needs to be like, hey, you need to check yourself. It's like, you know what?
Yeah, this is not.
I probably need,
Yeah,
because at a
this is-
certain point, I think he stopped sleeping and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
that's never a
Well,
good
and now
sign.
you're like taking stuff to stay up because you're tired, and then you're taking Quaaludes and shit to relax because you're stressed out. And it's like he had to, I mean, he was just sweating and spitting everywhere, talking. Like I can just imagine how insane he looked. He probably looked a
Yeah,
hot
well, they
mess.
said he had to
It's
wear those
probably very
glasses
scary.
because his eyes were just blood red.
Ugh.
Yeah,
That,
it's
you just
pretty
look like
scary.
poor health and bad decisions, sir.
Okay, so this
So,
other
yeah,
one, the Reform Your Mind guys from episode 3, I had never heard of him before. You already were up on this dude, Jamie
Yeah, was it-
Gomez.
Yeah, Jaime.
Oh,
Gomez, he-
Jaime
no,
Gomez. My bad.
It's
See, that's how
yeah,
much
Jaime.
I
He
don't know
was-
who this was.
I mean, and I wish I didn't know. He looked absolutely crazy. What was his job before he was a cult leader?
He was a ballet dancer. He was
He was
trying
a
to be an
dancing-
actor.
yeah.
He was also trying to be a porn star. And the dude was kind of
Mhm.
shading him. He was like, he couldn't even make it as a porn star. Let's get some straight. Being a porn star is hard. I don't know from experience.
it
Once
would
again,
be.
this is just from reading books. I read Jenna Jameson's book, How to Be a Porn Star, or How to Make Love Like a Porn
Ah.
Star. And
Okay.
it like any job, they make it look easy. It's actually a very difficult
I was gonna say,
profession.
I absolutely
Especially
not.
for
I feel like that would be a
men.
difficult job.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could definitely
So
see that.
I felt like that
Well,
was something from the
listen.
documentary I didn't enjoy, because whoever was saying that, it's like, I'd like to see you perform on screen and make it look compelling.
Oh, I would venture to say most people couldn't.
Exactly. I know I can't. So shout out to
Okay.
all the sex work or porn stars.
Yeah, you
But he
guys are
was a
nailing
failed
it,
porn star.
literally.
But you could tell he's really wanted.
He was just in love with himself. He was so
much.
obviously in love with himself that it was like, I need literally everyone around me to reflect how I feel about me, in every single way. And his stuff was very, his was like very like, it's attached to mysticism and like being connected to. So there was that underlying sort of religious, sort of spiritual aspect that you use to kind of hook people in.
Yeah, because he's
And
going to get you
was-
enlightened. If you do everything he says all the
Yes.
time and look like him and be like him, he was just kind of turning everybody into like little versions of him.
It was
Everybody had
so
to shave their
gross.
chest and like get plastic
And it was
surgery.
It was like a level of service too. Like service was a big part of like their cult, where it was like, it was like a reward. Like if you got to do service, air quote service for this dude, that was like a good thing. And of course you could imagine it devolved into, sexual abuse and stuff like
As it
that.
always does. Because you know what? That made me think about Versailles. Because that was the huge thing.
Oof.
Like if you had like different jobs you did for the king. So like holding his footstool or like doing different like toiletry things for him. Like that was a matter of honor and stuff like that. So it's interesting how we get into these social hierarchies as people. Like
You know what? This is a little bit of a left turn, but I feel like it's adjacent. You can tell me if I'm all the way off. And I want to preface this statement with saying that this isn't like me. I am not disparaging any organizations. This is just my own personal like take on this, or how I took it at the time. So like I didn't pledge for like to be Greek or anything like that, aka shout out to everybody. They do so much good. There's positivity there. But I just remember when faced with that, like, is this something you would get into? It was like, some of the stories I was hearing about like what you'd have to do to be part of this organization. And I'm not saying that about any groups that I named. I'm not saying that I know personally about any of these stories.
The
I'm
views
just
of
saying
Moni do not reflect the views of Fab Podcast. Fab Podcast stands with all
Yeah.
the Black Greeks. But
Yes, Black
there
Greeks,
is
but
a
I mean,
they
it goes
do
across
have a
Greeks.
all of the Greeks. There is a
It's just
reputation like they're
it can just go left. I'm just saying, like, again, a
yeah.
seemingly good
It's that's
organization
still
that
like I
has a
said,
lot of influence
it's that
can go
hierarchical sort of
left.
power thing where
That's
yeah,
all I'm
people
saying.
I will say, and I think they would all agree with me, there are people who start tripping off the power.
Yeah, they just go
It,
off the rails with it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And it's like it can just go down bad. And my thing was like, I don't want to encounter one of them motherfuckers because that's absolutely not. I'm not going for none of that. I'm not doing that. And now I done caught a case.
So which one? Okay, so number 4 was Promise Eternity, but I had in my notes Faith Healers. Which one of them was doing faith healing?
Well, Jim Jones was doing faith
Oh, was that what
healing.
that was
He
him?
was,
And see,
oh
I
yeah, he was
also
doing
that
faith
puts a
healing.
bee in my bonnet as well. I have I don't like that stuff because he was because they were showing the game he was running too. Because faith healers, why don't y'all just hang out in hospitals? Like, why don't you know what I mean? Like, it to me, it's I don't like giving people false hope. It's very cruel in my mind. That really makes me upset, and it does get people excited.
Bless that lady's
Powering
heart. No,
through,
she was, yeah.
it was super
But the
sad.
fourth one that was super sad. And then the next one, what was
The
the,
Heaven's
what was
Gates.
the,
That was the one with the Nike Cortezes and the dude castrated himself.
never heard of it.
Heaven's Gate. I remember that one because they were waiting for this comet to pass and they were going to all kill themselves and then live forever. Yeah, because that was Promised Eternity.
They were going to space, weren't they?
Yeah, that's why they had to wait for that
space?
comet. So they had to kill themselves so their spirits could get on the little comet or whatever. Yeah. That shit was sad.
And it's crazy how, like, when you say it like that, you do. I mean, in my mind, I'm just thinking, you know, and I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody who's actually been a part of a cult who like survived it and can look back now and be like, that was some bullshit. But like, it's just hard not to hear like, yo, so we're gonna like jump on a comment after we kill ourselves so we can be like, how are you?
I think
if you just hear it said like that, you're just thinking like, how the f do you even think?
It becomes your habit though. You know what I mean?
Well, I want to get into that. You know what? I want to let's hit this fifth one real quick.
Okay.
Because I did want to talk with you and ask you because I mean you said at the top of the show as somebody who, you know, felt like maybe that's a way you could go. I think that's a good way to end it too because I do want to humanize these people. I don't want it to be like a super you know what I mean? Like I am judging because it does sound fucking ridiculous, but it wasn't my lived experience, and I do think it's important to highlight how easy it really and truly is. You know what I'm saying? Like to be manipulated like mentally especially when you're talking about things that end up becoming larger than life, you know? So what was the last one? Was it
okay, so there's Promise
Eternal Life?
The Promise Eternity was the Heaven's Gates one, and then number 5 was Control Your Image, and that was the one with the Iams. Like I can't pronounce them. Those were the Asian ones. I don't want to be disrespectful. And then
oh yeah, and that one was really wild.
I didn't watch that
Asian
one.
There was one. There was a Japanese dude, and then the other one was Korean, and I thought that was interesting too because he had like mass weddings and.
Oh, I do know him. The moon guy. I was familiar. I'd heard of him before.
Okay.
And then Become Immortal is the last one. Oh, that's the Sun Moon. That's the Sun Moon dude.
The Moon
Unification
guy,
Church or whatever, where he was doing the mass weddings and stuff. Man, people be wanting to believe in stuff. That's
the main thing that like I kind of got from this is that like it doesn't even matter to some people how outlandish it is. If you present yourself in a certain way, if you know your look kind of stands out and like you said, that cult leader confidence comes in where you're giving a compelling narrative and you kind of have to, you know, like you do have to kind of show it. It was interesting that they were saying like sometimes he would do those faith healings, Jim Jones, and they would be like, they would work. Like this man got up and like ran around the church. That's how they said it. Like there was a couple of times where it was like, seems like it worked. But sometimes it wouldn't. And so then of course he started getting people who were behind the curtain with him and they would just, here, take this turkey gizzard, put it in your mouth. You're going to cough up cancer during the service. And then we're going to pass it around so people can see it, but they can't touch it. Like, you know, then it starts gimmicks and stuff like that. But
that made me angry because that kind of stuff makes people stop doing chemo. You know what I mean? Like there's like real world consequences for gaslighting people. Like, this is gaslighting.
Yeah. But how much of it is their fault, do you think, too? Because I mean, not like I'm saying that, but like if
For the
somebody
victims,
says to you, right? Because there's always that part of it where it's
you're a
like,
willing
well, I
victim.
mean, yeah, like, so does that make it okay?
It's never okay. You know what I mean? Like, if you leave your car door unlocked, it's never okay for someone to like steal from you. You know what I mean? Like, even though you
Well,
should have
you
locked
left
your
it
car,
unlocked.
but you
That
should
part.
have locked it. But that still doesn't give. It's not right for people to still take things from you. So
Yeah,
just
thank
because you're
you.
not as defensive as you could have been doesn't really get. I think it, because that's the other thing too that stood out to me with all these cult leaders. They were miserable. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, these
they
weren't
were.
happy people, and even their followers, they were happy for a little while, but then it gets to the point where people have to physically escape. Like,
Oh
that
my
is,
gosh. I mean, Jim Jones took those people. He convinced those people to go to another country in South
yeah,
America, and like didn't let them go. Like
and
that
killed
is
a U.S. senator
crazy.
instead of letting
Yes.
people go, and
I
then made
mean, just
everybody kill themselves because he couldn't lose control.
talk about stranger than fiction.
Ooh, yeah, this whole all of that was stranger
We
than
don't
fiction. For
just
sure.
literally all of
For
it.
sure.
Yeah. You mentioned your experience. I want to double back on that and just have you share with the listeners like why you feel like you could have been there twice, damn near. Not necessarily one of these
Not
organizations,
twice.
but just
Well, I mean, not anything.
well, you said two. You said there was like two.
Well, there's two that really stood out in my mind. Really, there's probably a bunch, but one that stood out to me was like it was an MLA. So it wasn't even like a religion, but this was just like a pyramid scheme because I felt like it was kind of cultish. A lot of, it doesn't always have to be religious. It can be,
That's true.
mhm. So it was called Equinox. And so the big thing was like you bring people in and then you da 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 da. It kind of had that sort of vibe to it. But then I remember I just didn't like it. And once again, it involved a lot of socializing. So I was able to avoid that. And it was just too expensive. I'm like, I don't feel like doing all this. And I feel like I was 19 at the time, but it still could have been easily for me to get sucked into it. Like I said, if I wasn't hanging out with you and had something else to do, I feel like I could have easily gotten into that. And then the other one, I don't know.
You ain't got to name no names, but you can just say,
okay,
what
maybe I'll
happened.
bleep it out. But like I think that's a cult.
Mhm.
And so it was just kind of this idea of like, wow, they're so confident, they have answers. But then it's like, man, y'all hate women more than I can't do this. So it's like, but like I said, if I didn't have other social outlets, I think I would been very, very susceptible to it.
Well, I think one of the most important and interesting points that I think was made outside of just the lack of critical thinking in a lot of these situations, anytime somebody, I would say, is presenting themselves as somebody who can fix everything that you need fixed, gives you an out on all the shit that you don't want to have to do for yourself or think about, that's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to deal with some shit you don't want to have to deal with, period. I don't give a damn
That's
who's in your
life.
life. So if they're offering you that, please know something's up. Like nobody's offering you that, okay? It always comes at a price. And it's probably your freedom because at that point, when you've relinquished that control to this motherfucker, now what happens is they're isolating you. That's the other huge thing that happens in these relationships, and whether they happen at the cult level or interpersonal levels, there's always that process of like extracting those people, those troublemakers, those people who are like, but like, what's all this though? Like, well, how are we explaining
It's like,
these
explain
things?
that to me. I really feel like what is it, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, that show on Netflix, they do a really good job of breaking down like how the cults do this and stuff like that. And it'll be like, no, it's just, this is way too important for your family and friends to understand. And also another thing it reminded me of, the theme that comes up on the show a lot, pimping. Like, a lot of this was very much how, because it's the same thing, you're hijacking human psychology to make people do your bidding. And
absolutely,
to
art
me,
of seduction. I
mean, but I don't like it because instead of using a wonderful part of human life, which is our need for connection and love and acceptance, we're using that to exploit people, usually financially and emotionally and spiritually. instead of being like,
And
oh,
sexually, don't
and
forget that.
oh, sorry, my bad. Can't forget those crepes. So
Mm-mm.
yeah, you that always super disgusts me because you could be, better than that.
It's just not as fun, I guess. You know what I mean?
Or I think people
It's
don't
just
think it's
not.
possible. I think there's a real lack of creative thinking. I think for some people, because they grew up in so much abuse, they think the best scenario is just to be the abuser. So as long as they move out of the abused position and are the abuser, to them that's success, instead of thinking like,
Right.
maybe there's models of human interaction that I'm not even aware of yet that could be positive.
Mm. Well, you blew my mind with that one. 'Cause
Yepers.
that's what I'm always, not blew my mind, but it's just like, that is exactly always where I'm taking it. And I'm not even saying I know exactly what that looks like, but it doesn't involve me convincing people to drink Kool-Aid and die. Excuse me, Powerade or whatever it was.
Flavor Aid.
Flavor
And Strychnine.
Aid.
I really
Whatever
feel
aid.
like the Strychnine was what was
Poison.
doing the heavy
Poison did
lifting.
it. Poison did
It wasn't.
Yeah. Okay.
It wasn't so much the powder. It was the Strychnine.
Wasn't the powder, guys. I mean, even though I'm sure the food coloring wasn't great. I say all that to say, you guys, just guard your like mentality, guard your ability to, not ability, just guard yourself. Just
don't portray yourself. I was recently having a discussion with a
it.
friend of ours where I was really congratulating her on not betraying herself. And it's hard because sometimes your family wants you to betray yourself. Your mom wants you to betray yourself. It's so hard to stay true to yourself. But in the end, that is always the best move. And people who care about you will applaud you for making those moves.
Yeah.
So,
and they won't ever try to just keep you for themselves. They'll always be willing to share you with other people, because that's what love is. Love doesn't, like, true love, I don't think really it's not something that's super possessive. Like, we don't own anything. We're all supposed to be enjoying all of this stuff. And it is really, really sad to see that really disgusting part of human nature come out, especially in terms of cults and, really just controlling people and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was disgusting and interesting. And, it made me feel like, maybe if we can start our own cult, because basically that's what we're doing right now. And it's going to be for the good, you guys. Like, we're not like going to ever willfully take you anywhere that's like harmful on purpose or anything like that.
My thing is, your body belongs to you. Like, if that's the only thing I want to indoctrinate people with is, you know what? I celebrate people doing what's best for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you know what? I feel like this is a good spot to take a break. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back. All right. And we're back. No. Did I scare you, friend?
You did, but it's okay. I'm very brave.
Good. Okay, you are.
I power on even when I'm scared.
I can tell.
Thank you.
That's right. I like it. Oh my gosh, though, man, this series was, I don't know. I had a lot of feelings. Like I said, I don't know that I loved that it was a how-to. Like, I know it was meant to be tongue-in-cheek, but it still made me feel uncomfortable because I'm like, people are so dumb that y'all shouldn't do this, really, probably.
So who would you recommend it to? Like, do you think there's people who would enjoy it?
I think it's one of those things that, like, everybody should be aware of. Like, I think anybody who has ever been like, I don't really know much about cults. Like, I think if you've already deep dived into cults, like, it's probably, you're going to want more. It's probably a little bit more of a teaser. But, like, if you're just trying to get a general understanding of how they work and what are some kind of notable ones, it's like, yep, it's giving you everything. So I think maybe for people who are at the beginning part of, like, learning about them and want to kind of, like you say, it's a buffet, if you will, of
yes,
of insanity.
Agreed. So what's your rating?
If I had to rate it, I'm gonna give it a actually, maybe I shouldn't rate it though, because
technically I'm not.
I fell asleep kind of through it too.
I guess neither one of us can rate it. I didn't finish it
we can't
either.
Even rate it. Look at us. It's shenanigans, guys. Straight up shenanigans, because we're so fake. Y'all knew that.
Yeah, they knew.
Don't look at us
Fine.
like that. Don't look
We
through the y'all know.
we don't pretend to have all the answers. Never
I'll never do
have.
that. So
Never will.
And I will say that I thought it was eye-opening to just human nature on both sides. The longing that humans have to be connected to the point where they're willing to put themselves in danger and in front of people who will literally kill them just to feel love and accepted. And I that actually, like, that's the kind of stuff that makes me really sad.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes, Hermione Granger. I see your hand up.
Professor, please. So you're going to like this as well, because it makes me think about Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, the episode where
You said I was going to like this.
I know, I was lying. It was Gul Kat, and he started a cult. And it was crazy because it was like basically a Bajoran. Like, so he like culturally appropriated the Bajoran religion and was basically like, yeah, your God selected me. I'm your prophet now. And he was like, because he was actually working for the bad prophets. And so it was a whole thing. But basically, he was trying to do the thing too, where he was like, I've got a message from the prophets. They want us to all kill ourselves. But he had like a special tablet that wasn't, I don't give a thing, but yeah, them people were really ready to die for him. And he was like the evilest. Gul Dukat, if anybody watched Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Gul Dukat was the worst.
I mean, if you don't feel deeply uncomfortable that people be willing to die for you, and then like, and when you think about the fact that like it's because of some bullshit you made up, like, I don't know how you.
And he was making everybody not have sex, even though they were married. But then, of course, he was still banging. And so then when one of the, because he was trying to act like one of the chicks just got, he gave one of the couples permission to have sex, but it was only because he had sex with her, because she ended up pregnant. And so he was just like, and then the baby came out looking like him. He was like, oh, this is a message from the prophets. It's like,
a message from my ball sack. Okay, stop playing. Wait a minute. So this was on Star Trek?
This is Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, all of that happened. Like, you're supposed to be celibate. You're busting down your parishioners or whatever you want to call them, your cultees, your followers,
your cultees, yes.
Like, yeah, it was just like, wow.
And then you try
really,
to make
really
it feel
bad.
spiritual, though. It's like, yeah, this is, I know.
It's just so predatory and gross. And so, yeah, we're just trying to extract the cult leader confidence out of that experience.
We don't want to abuse people. I just want to, because it's like, if these insane people can be confident, they don't have anything behind them, why shouldn't I be confident when I just want to help people?
Yeah. Or at the very least, my thing is just like, if you can't and don't want to help people, that's fine. Leave them the fuck alone.
That part.
Like, leave people alone.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't help somebody, if you're not positioning yourself to do that, just leave them alone. Like, how much, like,
it's less work even.
Just let people go. That part, you know? So,
because pimping ain't easy.
It was entertaining and disturbing. It's not. It's a lot of work, and you don't want to get into it, guys. It's not a good look. I'm just going to put that. I'm going to be your shady friend and tell you right now, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm giving my disapproving look. Nope. All right. Well, with that, friend, I think we should probably go ahead and spin the wheel. We did a lot today. Spin it. Okay, yay. We're revisiting something we announced earlier.
If you guys remember.
You guys, we are going to, if you're new here, this is new to you too. So we're going to be reviewing Warrior Girl Unearthed by Angeline Booley. And I'm excited because we already reviewed one of her books on the show, The Firekeeper's Daughter, which was awesome.
It's
really,
powerful.
really like that book.
I need some power.
It was.
So hopefully it'll. Oof.
Oh my gosh, we get to go back to Sugar Island. It's like it takes place back in the same setting with some of the same characters. So I like a good revisit. That's
I do too. Fun. I like a world. Yeah. I like lore.
It's a world. Yeah.
For sure.
I'm excited for that.
I'm too.
If you guys have any books you want us to review coming up, let us know.
Reach out to us.
Send us an email.
We're friendly.
Yep, definitely friendly. And if you do reach out and we don't get right back to you guys, just know it's life.
We're also busy. We're friendly and tired. We're friendly and tired.
But we're all
and sometimes we don't hit send. That's usually my big problem. Ooh, that send button. Ooh.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that. I've been guilty of that as well. It's like, damn, I didn't send that.
It's like, no, for real. I'm not even doing the bullshitting.
Yeah, it's like half of the response, and I'm like, and then I forgot, or I was like, oh, I don't know what to say right here. Let me.
Or immediately got
Anywho, y'all know the
distracted.
vibes. Just
Yeah.
reach out.
We're also moms.
If there's art or books y'all want us to review, please let us know. We would love to hear from you. We are moms, and on that note, we're tired. So
yeah, this is
I think
school
that's
night.
a good segue into getting the hell up out of here after a long weekend, friend. Thank you for, you know what I'm saying, pulling through and being patient with the whole audio situation and making sure we got recorded today. So this was good times,
thank you
guys.
as
Hope
well.
you
You're
enjoyed.
coming off the road today, so that's no
Yeah,
joke.
Man. Nah, man, I'm generally exhausted, but you know what? It's all for the listeners, you guys. It's all for you.
It's all for you.
So, all right, guys. So with that, I guess
Before we go, we must give thanks to Urban Nerd for providing our music, and legal services were handled by Trezanae M. Atkins. If you like what you heard, please feel free to join us every Wednesday for another fake-ass book club. Cheers.
Thank you guys for listening. You can check us out at thefabpodcast.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you're listening right now. We want to hear from you. Come put it in our life. Thanks again, and until next time, peace, love, and the fake ass